All right, so we're still working on writing products as sum and sums as products, but I want you to think of it more as start to see different relationships, start to see different patterns in numbers, and see how we can write equivalent expressions. So it says for each expression, write each sum and product of two factors. And I want you to leave a little room here, and I apologize I didn't, because we're going to do it up here, and then I want to change the problem a little bit and write something underneath. Okay, so kind of write small. So start identifying terms. I find my plus sign. Okay, and then I know this is a term and this is a term. So if I look at 2 times 3 and 5 times 3, what do they both have? Well, this is already kind of broken down. Unlike when we did in the last video where we had to see what goes into both of them, we can see both of them have a 3 here. So we find out what we're multiplying by dividing. So I can divide a 3 out of both of them. Remember, that becomes a factor. So that becomes 3 times, when I divide this 3 out and this 3 out, notice what I'm left with, 2 plus 5. And I get it. We're like, well, just 2 plus 5 is 7. Why can't I just type into a calculator? Okay. First of all, directions, write each sum as the product of two factors. But then, here's why I want you to leave room. What happens when I don't write it with a 2 per se? What happens when I take this problem right here and I rewrite it as x times 3 plus 5 times x? Okay, we can't just type that into a calculator, all right? So again, and I have to apologize, don't write it as 5 times x, write it as 5 times 3, my bad, because I want to show you that a 3 is a factor of both of these. Okay, so here's my plus sign, right? That means I have two terms here, this one, and they both have a 3 in them, so I want to divide out a 3. What I'm dividing by is what I end up multiplying by, so I pull the 3 out, divide it out of that term and out of that term, and what am I left with? X plus 5. Again, it was a sum, okay, an addition problem that I changed into a product 3 times this. All right. Let's look at the next one, okay, because this one can seem pretty confusing, right? Again, there's lots of plus signs, but let's check out the ones between the parentheses. We have 1, 2, 3 terms here, and they're all the same. So remember, multiplication is repeated addition. So if I'm adding the same thing 3 times, I can think of it as multiplying those things 3 times. 3 times 2 plus 5. Okay? And again, what if I switch it out to we have a variable? What if instead of 2 plus 5, I write it as x plus 5 in parentheses plus x plus 5 in parentheses plus x plus 5. Okay. Now I have 1, 2, 3 things that we're repeatedly adding, and multiplication is the same thing as repeated addition. Okay. Equivalent. These are the same thing, okay, but just kind of a new way to write them. Okay. So this one's a little bit more confusing, so stick with me on it, okay? Don't stress about it. Just try to listen and understand what's happening. I have 2 times 2 here, then I have 5 plus 2, and then I have 5 times 2. I identify my terms. There's the plus sign, there's the plus sign. So looking at these 3 terms, this is a plus sign here, but this is times 2 and times 2. So I see that they're the same. So I want to switch this order. And I want to rewrite this as 2 times 2 plus 5 times 2 plus 5 plus 2. Okay, I'm just changing the order. We can do that. Now let's focus right here. Okay, we have this term, and both of those terms have a 2 in it. So I'm going to divide out that 2. So remember, dividing out the 2, that's what I'm multiplying by. If I divide, either 2 here, these 2's out, I'm left with 2 plus 5. Okay, and again, don't stress about this. I just need you to watch. And then I'm going to add it to this one over here. But I want to make it look like this one, so I'm going to switch it around and write it instead of 5 plus 2 is 2 plus 5. Okay, we can do that, all right? Okay, so stick with me again. Okay, I have 2 2 plus 5s, and over here I have 1 2 plus 5. So if I have two 2 plus 5s and one 2 plus 5s, how many 2 plus 5s do I have? 3. I have 3 2 plus 5s. Okay, I know that's kind of out there and how to get there, but let's see what happens when I change things up with the variable. So I'm going to go back to this original one right here, and I want to rewrite this. Hey, what's up? And you can see that Jack just got here. And Abby too. She'll probably pop in and say hi at some point. While I'm rewriting this problem here with the variable, I'm going to write this as 2x plus, you can say hi, Abby, 5 plus x, and they're going to go be really quiet right now, plus 5 times 2. Okay? So notice all I did is I took this 2 out, there's these 2 outs here, and I replaced them with x. Don't wonder why. Just I want to show you something. Again, we're just manipulating numbers. So, if I look right here, again, I want to change this order. Okay, because this is 2 times x and this is 5 times 2. So I'm going to write this as 2 times x plus 5 times 2 plus, and then 5 plus x. And I'm just going to look at these 2 here to start. They both have a 2 in them. Here's my plus sign, so I can see this term and this term. So I'm going to divide out a 2. And I'm going to pull that out front, and I'm going to have x plus 5. Plus, then over here, I'm going to change the order. Same thing as we did up here. Now, if I have 2x plus 5s and 1x plus 5, that's 3x plus 5s. Okay? And later on in math, when you get into factoring and you're doing things called quadratics, you need to be able to factor them. Being able to pull out these common factors can be important. So we're not going to get so complicated right now, but the more you practice it, the easier it'll get. All right, let's finish up. Okay? We need to write each of these expressions in standard form, and this is going to be kind of like what we did in the last video, and I need to point some things out to you guys. Notice this is -3, and then there's this parenthesis right here, right? That means we're multiplying. That's different from this one. This one, we're not multiplying. We do not go 5 times, we do not multiply here because there's this minus sign right here. So we're subtracting those things. We are not multiplying though. Here, we're going -3 times these things. Here, we're subtracting what's in parentheses, and that's really important to pay attention to. Okay, so don't overthink it. Don't try to do too much in your head. Write down each step. And I've told you that I like when things are in parentheses, change it to addition. You don't have to, but I'm telling you guys, it's going to make your life a lot easier. You're not, sometimes your answers are going to be wrong because you forgot the negative. So instead of saying 2p minus 3q, I'm going to say 2 times p plus a -3 times q. Okay? So now I use my distributive property. This is multiplying. It is the multiplication property of addition over multiplication. I'm going to call it multiplication over addition, division, multiplication over addition, something like that. So I'm multiplying 3 by everything in here. So I'm going to go -3 times 2p. That's a -6p. Plus sign, -3 times -3q. Negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 3 is 9. This is 9q. Now, we can combine identical variable parts. This is a variable. This is a variable. They're not identical. So we are done. Okay? I know that seems weird, but that's where our comfort level needs to go. Okay? Let's look at this one over here. Now, I said this one was different because we're subtracting what's in parentheses. So this is 5 times a minus. Oh, in parentheses here, I'm going to rewrite as addition. I'm going to write 1a, so I don't forget there's 1a there. Instead of saying -3b, I'm going to go plus -3b. You can't just make it a plus sign. Then you're changing the problem. This actually means the same thing, writing equivalent expressions. Okay, so now when I go to rewrite this, okay, this is 5a. I'm subtracting 1a, and I'm subtracting a -3b. I'm subtracting this, and I'm subtracting that. Well, similar to the distributive property, and if you want to think of it as you're distributing a negative, that's okay, then you are. But we're subtracting everything in here. Here I'm multiplying by everything in here. Here I'm subtracting everything in here. Simplify it again. 5a, if you want, you can go keep, change, make that a -1a. Keep the negative 1a, change a minus to a plus, change negative 3b to a positive 3b. Now combine your like terms. What are our terms? Look for your plus signs, right? If I have 5a's and a negative 1a, when I combine those, I get 4a's. That takes care of that term and that term. What term am I left with? 3b. So I'm going to go plus 3b. Do not add them together. They're not identical variables. And it's okay that our simplified answer has two terms in it. And you guys trust me, the more we work on this, the easier it'll get. And right now, we're just working on, going back and forth between multiplying and adding and what do those things mean. And really, we're working on writing equivalent expressions to make life easier when we use these later on in math.
Subscribe to my mom's YouTube channel and soon she will have a gaming channel. Bye!